JUICEman3941, episode 24, the Gaming Roundtable. What's up, everybody? It's been a long time, it seems, since I've done a video. I know there's a lot that's happened in the gaming industry. Brief synopsis: Fallout 76 flops, fails, bans people trying to help the game, and started a subscription service because they're fucking morons. Call of Duty Modern Warfare came out to some controversy too in the campaign. NBA 2K20 comes out with gambling mechanics and stuff, and ESRB rates it E instead of teen, and they won't back down in the position because, you know, it's money involved, and it doesn't really matter. They could have rated it M, and kids are still going to get the game. Parents are just going to say, here, have the game, shut the fuck up and go play while I go do whatever I'm doing. And you see, that's some of the stories that's come out. And I want to talk a little bit about this because it's important to understand that my take on all of that, including some of the stuff of late, which is kind of like the debacle on Ubisoft and Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint not selling well and being misrepresentative or whatever. I'm hoping the music's not too loud. I don't know why it sounds back out. I don't know why it does this every time since the Evolve servers have been shut down. I have to deal with this, and I can't just leave it alone. So now we're back to normal. So with them pushing their games, Ubisoft pushing their games back, and the shareholders trying to scratch in their head like, why didn't this game sell? We're not sure. And of course the time savers and all the crap with their microtransactions, loot boxes, debacle. It seems like every time I turn on YouTube, it's either Angry Joe, Young Al, Jim Sterling, Clean Prince Gaming, just all kinds of different people that I watch. They're just always talking about the same thing, and I don't want to get into that. Real quick, so like loot boxes and microtransactions are always going to be in our games. They will be in every game just about going forward. We're going to have to just learn to live with it. You don't have to buy them. I don't think they should be in the games, but you don't have to. You don't even have to really buy the game that they're in, but you're going to anyway because that's what you all do, you know. And it's like the problem is that we're so hung up on that stuff, and we shouldn't be. And I'm going to tell you something that might be not earth-shattering, but you may not have thought of the AAA gaming industry like this at all. So I'm going to break it down for you. So, me and my fiance watch a show on Netflix called The Great British Bake Off, and we enjoy it for the people and the jokes and camaraderie, and it is really pretty impressive to see some of the stuff these people make, and it's just enjoyable, you know. Paul Hollywood's on there, and he's a real world-renowned bread baker and baker in general, and one of the things that he says that made me start thinking about the gaming industry this way is that people will bring him something, and it looks beautiful. You know, it's got all these, it might have piping on it and decorations, and it's just beautiful to look at. It just oozes style. But then he'll get into cake or whatever, or bread or whatever they're doing, mainly cakes, and he'll look at it and taste it and say, you know, you have all this style, but the taste is bland. It has no substance. And that line right there, style but no substance, can sum up our gaming industry today. You know, take the loot boxes, take the microtransactions, take the time savers, take all that away, and let's talk a little bit about games. Let's go EA and DICE. So if you look at Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, you look at Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, you know, other than its setting, which dictates its weapons and dictates its vehicles, and other than its setting, right, it's fundamentally the exact same game that you have been playing for the past several years. That other than the setting, that's it. They always add some stuff, campaign, they do, oh, we added this to it, we got these new little perk system, oh, now you can do this with your character creator. They add all that icing and piping and everything, and what you really have underneath is the same fucking yellow cake that we've all ate before, or chocolate or white. Everyone has had fucking yellow cake. I'm hoping by now you have. And you can keep buying into the previews that they show of these games. The previews, like movie previews, are designed to entice you to buy the game or go to the movies. And half the time, those movie previews are probably the best thing about those films. It's very rarely does the previews and then the rest of the film is like, holy cow, with those previews. Unless it's like MCU stuff, obviously. But I digress. My point is that all style, but no substance. Activision, you've been making COD for years. You still refuse. You have enhanced the engine with this latest game, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, a reboot, relaunch. And you have done some things differently. And you have dressed up the perks. You changed the maps around. Now there's a lot of camping. And you have done things to make it kind of benefit the casuals this time around. And you have dressed it up all these different ways. But underneath, it's still fucking COD. It's the same fucking multiplayer. And it isn't much different from the previous CODs at all. It's still yellow cake. And yet, because we had these really snazzy previews, everyone went out and bought it. And you might be playing it. Oh, this is cool. And, oh, wow, man, this is, the multiplayer is great. Most people are talking about the gunfight mode, which is 2v2, and people like that more than anything because it's like weapons are balanced and they give you what they want you to use. But everything else aside, people are not really talking really great about the regular multiplayer. You know why? Because it's yellow cake. Style but no substance. That is what's wrong with the AAA industry. We get all these game previews and it makes you want to go buy the game. And then you realize this is the same game I've been playing for years. COD, Activision and COD, DICE and EA, Ubisoft, who keeps putting out the same open world game with different settings and different things. Let's make Breakpoint kind of like The Division, but kind of like Wildlands, even though it's a sequel, but it isn't. And let's make Far Cry, and then let's do Far Cry 4 and 5 and 3 and all these ones, and they're all similar, and they all have a giant map, and they have all these things all over the map to go do, but they're not really all that interesting. All style, but no substance. It's yellow cake. If I have 3 yellow cakes sitting before you, and I don't tell you what they are, but I have them all dressed up all differently, and they look like wow when you see them, you're going to be like, wow, those look great, But when you cut into them, and they're all the same, and it's yellow cake, Duncan Hines yellow cake, which you've probably ate before, you're going to be like, it's yellow cake. Yeah, it looked good. And that's the problem with the industry. Take the loot boxes out of it, take the microtransactions out of it, take all that out of it, and what you're left with is companies putting out the same game, styling it up differently, and saying, here you go, here's a cool preview to make you buy it, and it's all style, but no substance. That's exactly what is wrong with the gaming industry right now as we speak. You can go like, when I was talking about COD earlier, okay, so I can't wall run. That was just a feature. That's just a little icing on the side with a picture. It's still the same multiplayer. You could tweak the time to kills, and you could tweak the perks or give us perks that were in the old games and put them back in and tout them as new features when they're not new. You could give us death streaks or get rid of them. All you're doing is dressing up the same thing and serving it to us. Yellow cake. That's all you're doing. That's it. And so many people in the community fall for it. Hook, line, and sinker. Look at Bethesda. They did this with Fallout 76. They knew people loved Fallout 3. They knew people loved Fallout 4. Let's kind of market it and show you it as if it's that game. But it's not. They dressed it up. And actually, it was yellow cake with no flavor at the end of the day. And they keep fucking up. And this is my point. We, as a community, continuously fall for that awesome preview. Now, Ubisoft, I've always said, their games are very stylish, and there's something about them. but underneath its surface, I can go from game to game to game. It's just the same cake. That's it. That's it. Far Cry 3 and 4, other than its setting, was fundamentally the same, except they got rid of one skill tree, and the setting is different, but it's the same game. Far Cry 5 I have, which tweaks some things, is essentially Far Cry 4, set in a different setting, and that's why it's supposed to be like this political game and all this other stuff, and none of that was in the game. And again, serving us yellow cake. You gave us an expansion. There was Vietnam and Mars and zombies. Again, yellow cake. Just styled and dressed up differently. Even Evolve here, which I really like, for the most part did the same thing. They gave us all this really cool style, but there wasn't a lot underneath at launch and never really got to that point. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which I own, and I am enjoying in small bits. And I do like the shooting and the mechanics and the loot systems, but it's also like, well, this is kind of like The Division, sort of. It plays a little differently, but it's kind of the same. And look at this map with 1,001 icons, and I'll go to the same exact looking place over and over again, just it's shuffled around. Again, I like the game, but it's not a game I could sit there and play for 8, 9, 10, 15 hours. An hour tops, and I'm done. And the thing is because they are making all their games so similar, but dressing it up differently, and you, the community, are watching the previews going like, oh, I gotta play that game, that looks so cool, he can cover himself up in mud and do all this other stuff. Okay, the gameplay is fundamentally, absolutely, 100%, even down to the controls, identical to Wildlands. If you have Wildlands, you don't need to buy Breakpoint. And if you're buying Breakpoint, you're just basically buying a repackaged Wildlands with a loot system that's similar to Division, that's also an open world game with min-max kind of stuff with percentages that give you barely any bonuses, like a little bit here, a little bit there when you get a new weapon. It's literally the same game. You know, COD Black Ops 4, same thing. What was really different about it from fundamentally, at its core, different than Black Ops 3? Okay, so they got rid of the wall running, but I can still double jump. But they got rid of regenerative health, and now I can inject myself. And we added the same specialists and gave them some new abilities. Perk system was largely unchanged. Give us $60 and we got Battle Royale. Big fucking deal. You dressed your yellow K-Cup just completely different, and everyone fell for it. I even fell for it. And after 10 matches of playing the game, literally maybe a little less, maybe 8, I was like, this is the fucking same game. I got Black Ops 3 for free. I just got burnt on $60. Is that game even installed on my hard drive anymore? No. I chucked it up to a loss, just like I chucked up Fallout 76 to a loss. Last year's Broketober was horrible because there was all these games that looked good, and very few came out that was decent during that month. Spider-Man was great, you know, a return to form. It felt good. It was not like the other Spider-Man games really at all. Fundamentally, it was very different in the way that it felt and played, and it was nice, you know. But other than that, that is the problem. Loot boxes are not the problem. Microtransactions and time savers and XP boosts and surprise mechanics and all the shit that they're trying, unless the law says they can't do it no more, it's going to be in every game going forward. So if you are a YouTuber and you make your own channel, then be prepared for every game from the next however many years until they pass laws. You're going to be bitching about so let's just stop complaining about microtransactions. We get it. They're greedy. They want money. That's what they want. You know, Activision, EA, Ubisoft, packaging things, dressing it up differently, giving us this preview that looks enticing. Wow. And then you cut into it and you're like, wow, it's just Duncan Hines yellow cake. Big fucking deal, right? And that is what's plaguing the gaming industry. All style, but no substance. Let's take Spiders as Greedfall. Greedfall is an excellent RPG with nuanced gameplay, with refined combat, better than Technomancer's combat, even though Technomancer's combat was not terrible. Better than Bound by Flames combat. Again, not terrible, just refined, and it does feel very different when you fight in that game versus the more floatiness of the previous two games. It's more tight, more responsive. Greedfall has a great open world, good voice acting. It has it oozes style. It kind of reminds you a little bit of Witcher or one of those type of games. But it has all this substance underneath. It's not just yellow cake. It's cake filled with pudding and fruit and all these different things and flavors like cinnamon and cardamom and stuff that just combine well. And the next thing you know, you've put 30 hours in the game. You're like, this game is excellent. This is an awesome game. And Spiders deserves the credit that they have gotten and the press that they got, because they got virtually no press on the last two releases. They deserve a win, and they got that win with that game. It had all this style and all kinds of substance. We shouldn't have to wait for that substance to get filled in 2 years from now. For Honor did that. All style, no substance, none. And there just wasn't enough there to keep playing. Or look at, and again, CD Projekt Red with Witcher 3. Oh my God, stylish. But look at all the substance that's in there. That game was huge and so successful, Even Diablo 3 bounced back. No Man's Sky, which was style and virtually nothing. And it bounced back. We shouldn't have had to wait 2 years, but it now is the game it needs to be. But what I'm trying to say is that the AAA industry, the publishers like EA and Ubisoft and Activision, they're never, ever going to give us any games that has style and substance. Maybe their published Star Wars game, Jedi Fallen Order or whatever, that's coming out will be different. And yes, it kind of has Dark Souls-like things going on with it, which I think is kind of odd, but that's going to be different, I think, because they're allowing Respawn to kind of do your thing. And I think that game will have, it looks like it has style and substance. Found out that it's not as linear. There's multiple planets you can go to, and not just you go there and you go to the next one. No, you can go back and forth between them and do different things. There's hidden bosses. That game's going to be a little bit more open than I think most people believe. But that's my point. Style, but no substance. And that is the problem with the AAA gaming industry today. Not your microtransactions, not your loot boxes. All style, no substance. These big publishing companies are giving us the same game every 11 months, and they keep saying, well, we've been working on it for 3 years. If that means that when Wildlands came out, you immediately said, okay, you 3 people update it while we go work on this new one. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Because Wildlands is only 2 years old. So you've been working on it for 3 years? Okay. But the thing is I'm just trying to make my point. Gaming Roundtable people, I'm going to leave you with this. The next time EA is publishing something, even their sports games are like this, just if I might iterate, 2K sports games are like this, is 2K20 that much different than 19? Oh great, now you paid $60 to go unlock all the stuff you already had unlocked in 2K19. Have fun with that. Madden 20 that much different from 19? The answer is no. All dressed up differently, different package. It's reselling us features that has been in other games and taken out, and it's just all style and yellow cake underneath. Sports games are like that. 2K's bad about it, outside of maybe Borderlands series. But here's the thing. I leave you with this. If you are a gamer, or if you are a YouTuber, let's quit talking about loot boxes and microtransactions and monetization. Let's just quit all of that. That's not the problem. And if you are at your local GameStop and they're trying to say, hey, pre-order this game, it's from EA, or pre-order this game, it's Ubisoft's next thing, or pre-order this, or pre-order that from DICE, or pre-order, from Activision, don't. You know why? Because chances are in your game library from the previous year are those exact same games. The same yellow cake that you keep buying and eating. They just look a little different. Don't pre-order. Just don't buy them. This has been episode 24 4 of the Gaming Roundtable. Style but no substance is the name of this. I want to hear from you. Please comment below. Unpaid Gamers on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. I know I haven't been putting out videos. I got to try to do more videos, but this one in particular was one I really wanted to do. So I hope if you watch this, you get something out of it. Remember, style but no substance, and you got to have both, or your game's just going to flounder. And as always, gamers, good gaming.